34 minutes, hashtag Charles Barkley of Heaven. We call the D1 Baseball Weekend Preview podcast, videocast. Oh, isn't that? It's my favorite. Like the numbers game. Come on, 34, big Chuck.
That was Chuck. That was Chuck.
That's right. Yeah. Great Sixer back then.
Phoenix Sun legend.
I took you as more of like a Kevin Johnson guy.
KJ was, he was kind of the original Sun. Who was the other guy? Tom Chambers.
Byron Russell.
I like Thunder Dan Marley myself.
Thunder Dan Marley became the coach over at Grand Canyon. No question. Very good. Gentlemen, how you doing? Happy Wednesday.
Is it? It is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
Easter week
always had. Oh, it always gets me jacked up. Like I was thinking tonight. Like I was like telling my wife, like, "Oh, the kids don't have school tomorrow." No, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's not Thursday. So.
Do you guys like? By the way, I'm joined by the great Aaron Fitt and Kendall Rogers, as if you didn't know that already. So here's my question for you guys. Do you like this is like a tradition in college baseball, is Easter week just kind of sneaks up on you and everything or nearly everything becomes Thursday to Saturday. So Kendall, I'll start with you. Do you like that aberration in the schedule, or you prefer just the
straight
up routine?
Like what I would prefer is for everybody to play just later on Sunday. Like if we're making like an exception for Easter week, like let's just play later on Sunday. Like everybody can get all their stuff out of the way. And then we can play baseball. I just think it's weird, I just think it's weird, like right in the middle of the season, to take like pitchers and teams kind of off their usual routine. I just don't like that. You have teams that are starting he's not pitching this week, but just like an example, you'd have a team starting like a Jonathan Cannon a day early, or a team's getting behind the 8 ball in the series because they're starting guys that aren't typically starting, at the beginning of the weekend. So I don't like it.
So how do you feel about SEC Thursday night baseball? And they do it all year long. And the greatest conference in America, they do it every year, all year.
Yeah, but it's not every team.
No, but it's still
it's an exception.
Yeah. But like,
I don't know. I mean, it's not one of those things like I would just totally get rid of it, but I don't prefer it. It's kind of like conference tournaments.
Fitzy, do you have a strong opinion here?
Not really. I don't really care.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys this: Kendall's point about pitching, and even the Thursday night games. I love, like, the selfish fan in me loves the Thursday night games. Like I'm all in on that. But the pitching thing's a real thing. Like KR is making a good point. You get rotations jacked up. I don't love that. But I will tell you, the coach in me that never had kids, having Easter Sunday off in the middle of the season's grind was incredibly refreshing. Like where you just have this day out of nowhere. You almost felt like a major leaguer with a day off, where it's like an oasis, like a unicorn. Not that you're out there digging ditches or anything, but just from a mental standpoint, it was refreshing, I got to say. So... And just, I don't want any confusion. No, Pat Murphy never made us dig ditches. That never happened. Oh, gotta love it. Oh, isn't that funny? Back in the day, everyone always ripped on Murph for a lot of things, and we all know Murph was a lightning rod. But I always love the comment, he could never coach in the pros, right? I mean, Murph is almost going on a decade in the big leagues and over a decade in professional baseball. So anyway, it's lesson learned. Anybody can do anything. Gentlemen, oh my gosh, totally forgot to read. I print out our sponsor read this time like a pro. You accused me of being a pro, Fitzy, and then I just almost didn't even read the read. So let's do it. We are brought to you by S2 Cognition, who we are really excited about. They are the leading sports science cognitive tech platform that gives players visibility to how their brain is wired to make split-second decisions at game speed. S2 works with teams and coaches to administer the digital S2 evaluation that measures a player's millisecond reactions, such as their ability to swing on time, make contact, level of self-control to not chase pitches, anticipation of pitch location to swing at the right spot, and more. The results are detailed in a personalized S2 score report, giving athletes and teams insight on how to practice more effectively or efficiently to get better faster. This report is also being used for drafting and recruitment purposes across the NCAA. Right now, S2 works exclusively with clubs and organizations, but be on the lookout as this eval will be more broadly accessible to individual athletes over the next year, which would be really, really cool.
That's a really good read, by the way.
I would give I'd give it a, what are we scoring on the 20 to 80 scale? I'd give it a 45. But
that was good.
I feel like my projection's a 65 KR, so I like where your scouting hat's there. So boys, we're going to do weekly picks tonight. Fitzy, I think it is important that we give you a chance to address America. You are now 9-11 in your last 20 picks. It is you are plummeting down the standings like you've got a piano taped to your foot, or maybe roped or whatever you're attaching a piano to yourself with. I'll give you the floor at this point.
Do I or do I not still have the lead on one Michael Patrick Rooney?
I mean, yes, but I have all the momentum because I was 8-2 last week.
Scoreboard. That's all I got.
Scoreboard.
I'm only chasing one guy. That is Burke Patrick Granger.
Oh, Burke Patrick is,
and
just
we all know
in the
he
zone.
used loaded bats, and we're coming for him. We're coming for him.
Oh, KR, you had something to say.
Hey, just to redo a old clip. We ain't done yet.
That's well played.
I said we ain't done yet.
Oh my gosh, who is that? Refresh my memory on that.
It was the Rams guy, who's like the office rocker Rams DB.
Oh, Jalen Ramsey?
No, I don't think it was Jalen Ramsey. Oh, who was it?
Okay, I'm Googling that because that was well
Google
played.
it. I use
well
it all the
done.
time to people. I'll like send it to them, but I have no idea who it is. But like, so it was one of those deals. Is like somebody was doubting the Rams were still in the playoff picture or something, and like he just said we ain't done yet. And so
anyone listening, if you know the author of that quote, please tweet us or put it in the chat.
Well, hold on, I'll find out. Hold on.
Yeah,
I feel like it wasn't
Martha. Put Martha on it. But that was
it
well
was
played.
Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters.
I want you guys to know, Marcus Peters, that's good poll. I want you guys to know I did call the great Burke Granger tonight because I have Michigan State on Friday. And, I just asked Burke, I said, hey, is there anything, your report on Michigan Louisville was phenomenal. Is there anything that you may have chosen not to write in there that might be knowledge that I need? And he said, no, it's in the report, which was great. It was good. The only thing he didn't really write is that it was like, Antarctica. It was freezing. He wrote that, but not the Antarctica part, or however you say that continent.
I was impressed that you just said the Arctica instead of just Antarctica.
Antarctica. There you go.
That was pretty good.
That's almost as hard as.
Do you say Connecticut?
That's almost as hard as Mr. Quintanilla, whose name I always want to call him Omar. I can't get his first or his last name right. Omar Quintanilla is my favorite of all time, the shortstop from El Paso, who won a national title at Texas. Oh my gosh, we are so far off the rails right now, boys.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to let you get reestablished.
Thank you. Can
I just remind our readers to go on the site and check out our latest top 150 prospect rankings that David Seifert put together? Just kind of give you a sneak peek. Brooks Lee, top overall prospect from Cal Poly, he's having a phenomenal year. You got Tennessee, number one Tennessee with 6 players in the top 150 rankings. You have Arkansas, Florida, Georgia Tech, Vandy, and Oklahoma guys with 5 players. And then you got Gonzaga and Charlotte. Charlotte, by the way, how about Robert Woodard in the gang with 4 players in the top 150? So check that out.
That's a great play. Look at you professionalizing this operation, KR. One other thing I would ask the listeners to check out, Fitzy, and if you want to make a comment, I read your piece on Georgia State, which I felt was a program that I knew next to nothing about, and it was awesome. You crushed that, and they are a fascinating team. I'm kind of mad at myself for not digging into them earlier, but man, well done, Fitzy.
Yeah, they are interesting, and that story kind of tells itself. You got a group of guys that call themselves the Bus Lot Boys. Because
it's amazing. They have T-shirts.
They have T-shirts with Brad Stromdahl's face on them with his COVID beard driving a magic bus because they play, as he said, in the back of a DeKalb County school bus lot. That's their facility's lacking and they've embraced it. And and they're out there recruiting too. They're getting guys. They like their class for next year. They got a couple of big name guys for apparently the 2024 class. It's a team that has some nice veteran pieces. They have some power. They have some speed. Griffin Cheney's having a great year as a 5th-year player who's been around a long time. As a shortstop, he's their best player. But you throw in a Max Ryerson. It's like Groundhog Day all over again with these guys. They're just No love for the Max Ryerson reference. Forget it.
It's Ned Ryerson, but it's so funny you say that, Fitzy, because I read Max Ryerson and I was like, gosh, Ryerson's a familiar name. I did not place it. Thank you for that. Underrated.
Watch that hole; it's a doozy.
Yeah, exactly.
Needle nose Ned.
Well done. Yeah, I think they're interesting, and they're 10-2 in the first place in the Sun Belt. I actually think their bullpen sounds fascinating.
Yes,
and we'll kind of see if once Mason Patel gets built back up a little more and extended, if they can plug him into the rotation, kind of bolster that group. And I think we'll see if Brandon Kaminer, the transfer from LSU, he'd been their Friday guy. I think he was off last week. I don't know if he's going to pitch this week or not. That's a key piece for him. But right now, I feel like the bullpen is kind of a strength. They've kind of built that thing from the back forward with Ryan Watson, their former Friday guy, at the back end, and is kind of a three-headed monster there. So I like what they're doing. I like the way they've constructed that roster and put their pieces together, and it's kind of a neat series coming up against Georgia Southern that has a lot of ramifications.
What a year for the state of Georgia in college baseball, by the way, right? Georgia's excellent. Georgia Tech is, one of the best offenses in college baseball. Kennesaw State's very good. Georgia Southern's very good. Georgia State's very good. Mercer's having an incredible year. So really good year for the state.
No question.
I see a Darren Noble over there in the chat. We'll call it one less day to wait this week. I like that's putting a positive spin on it, and I'm down for that. Count me in. All right, boys, let's play the feud. You guys ready to do some picks?
Feud.
Let's play the feud.
I'm going undefeated this week.
Kendall, for some mysterious reason, I'm in the Google Drive and your boxes are lit up. Are you? What are you doing? Are you?
Nothing.
Are you calling audibles as we go here?
You know what? I'm just going to do here.
Moving.
Since I'm so confident that I'm going undefeated, I'm just going to make my background golden.
That's well played. It's not good radio, but that's well played. All right, boys, let's start at the top. Stanford at UCLA. Fitzy, you are the only person on this call that has lived in California full time at any time. Stanford at UCLA. Who do you like?
This was one of the harder ones for me to pick. I went back and forth. I do like the way that Stanford is trending, but I also like the way UCLA is trending. They've played good baseball here, and even after losing Thatcher Hurd, didn't really seem like that slowed them down too much. And they're number 12 in the country, and they're at home. I mean, it's not rocket science. I'm going to take the Bruins.
KR, what are you thinking here?
I don't think it's rocket science either, and I'm taking Stanford. I just think when you look at Stanford overall, you look at that Oregon State series a couple weeks ago, and that was kind of a tie turner for them. They pitched really well in the series opener. They won the series finale with offense, and they knocked the cover off the ball the last week and a half. I think they're going to play really well, and I like Stanford.
Yeah, I'm torn on this one too, Fitzy. I think these are two very interesting postseason teams. The Thatcher Hurd injury is really messing me up. I'm just really disappointed because I think this kid is awesome. I think I might have shared with you guys, we had John Savage on the Sirius XM show this week, me and Coach Farron, and Coach Savage basically, I'm paraphrasing, this is not a quote, but this is how I interpreted what he said. I interpreted him saying, hey, I'm not saying we got Cole and Bauer part 2, but I'm not saying that. He was basically saying these are dudes, like Thatcher Hurd and Gage Jump are big leaguers. These are, and they're not like cup of coffee big leaguers. So I'm taking Stanford. By the way, the Quinn Matthews is back in the rotation as per what they announced. So that's interesting. Stanford's pitching is really tenuous. I'm not sure UCLA can take advantage of it. So I'm going to go with Stanford there.
I will say this about Stanford: even though Quinn Matthews is slotted in the Sunday role, I would not be surprised to see him close out the Friday game.
Yeah,
and still start on Sunday.
Yeah, hey, just because you put it in the projection doesn't mean you got to do it, right?
Yep. And you mentioned, Gage Jump though, as well as Thatcher Hurd. UCLA needs a big jump out of him. He only went 1 2/3 last week. He gave up 3 runs. They need him to be better. It's that simple. There's more pressure on him now, but he's an immense talent, and it's there for the take, and go get it.
Fitzy, I like the way you're trending. You wordsmith Gage Jump right there, and also you've got a Ned Ryerson reference. I like it. I'm going to force feed Well, hey,
Unfortunately, shooters shoot, Runes.
that's right. You can't be afraid. Even if it's a bad shot, you can't not shoot your way out of this, Fitzy. Okay, let's go. Miami at Virginia Tech. By the way, I want to say this: Miami is Twitter. Whoever is the author of their Twitter feed has been coming at us hard, and I
Josh
love
White.
it. Is that who it is? Josh White?
Yes, their SID.
I love that. Please don't stop.
Coming
That
in
is
hot.
awesome. It's so fun.
Come at me, J Dubs. That's right. I'm picking the Hokies. What
Come
you
at
got,
me.
Josh White?
Come
What you
at
got?
me. Come at me. Come at me.
He
By the
thought
way-
we were friends 2 weeks ago because I was the only one to pick the Hurricanes, and now I've just done a complete heel turn. I picked against them last week because I got bullied, and this week I'm picking against them. I think I'm the only one who is, just because Virginia Tech can mash. And they're at home. They're dangerous, and they're playing great baseball. So is Miami. They haven't lost in weeks. It's a fascinating series, but that place plays a lot different than Mark Light. And I just think it's a tough place to go on the road and win when Virginia Tech's playing well.
KR, what are you thinking here?
I like Miami. I just think Miami has a sizable pitching advantage. And just having the luxury of Andrew Walters, if you can turn the game over to him with a lead late, even against a potent offense like Virginia Tech, I mean, he is absolute nails. He is easy money, and I like Miami.
Yeah, I think what you said, KR, is spot on. I'm really intrigued by Drew Hackenberg, who's the young, his older brother. I think it was Christian, played football, was the quarterback at Penn State.
Okay, yeah.
And then his other brother was the catcher at Clemson. It's just this
Adam.
incredible family. And Drew is like a 6-foot kid who's got a first-round arm, and he's only a freshman, but we know what Jack Hurley's doing. They're really. Hey, by the way, Tanner Schobel, the shortstop for Virginia Tech. It's a crime that more people don't know about him. To me, he really is in that Pedroia, Madrigal. Like that's a high comp. He's got to keep doing it, but he's like a little guy who just can take over a game. He's really, really good. I'm all in on Tanner Schobel.
Yeah. I agree. He's a
but-
great player. And with Carson DiMartini and Scoble on the left side, I think that's strong. Love, obviously Cross and Hurley out there. I mean, they got difference makers all over that lineup. It's a very interesting team.
Well, but let me just be clear. I'm taking Miami because I'm a coward, because Josh White intimidates me, and also because they're really good and they're really hot. And what Kendall said about the pitching advantage. So I like it. All right, LSU at Arkansas. Gosh, I'm a flip-flopper on this one. I don't know what to do. KR, what do you got on LSU at Arkansas?
I'm a little scared to take LSU considering the way they've played with their back against the wall. But, after sweeping that series at Mississippi State, I just think we look at Arkansas. I have faith with Nolan on the front end of the rotation a little bit more than I do LSU on the front end of the rotation. I think Arkansas's bullpen's better. Even though LSU, I will say Eric Reisman and Paul Gravasi, both those guys have actually pitched pretty well here as of late. But I just like Arkansas at home. I think they have better pitching, and I think the Arkansas offense, I think they can go punch for punch with LSU. This is an offense that is much better than they have been so far this year.
Fitzy, what do you think?
Agree. I like Arkansas at home. I just think they're the more complete team. They defend better. I like their pitching better, and their offense has come on, and they're coming off their first series loss in like 2 years. And I think they're going to play well at home here. I think their fans will be into it. And it wouldn't surprise me if LSU win there. Coming off a big series win, it wouldn't surprise me if LSU went in there and made some noise. But I can't pick against the Hogs at home. I think they're one of the best teams in the country.
I'm picking the Hogs. I see Mark Calloway in the chat there. Thank you for that. Hello. I'm picking Arkansas because I think their defense is a separator from LSU. I really do like Arkansas's pitching. It's so much more settled than last year. I got to be honest though, I am so discouraged by Arkansas's offense. Brady Slavens is playing better, and that's helpful. But I just see a bunch of guys, and Caden Wallace is a big leaguer, like no doubt big leaguer. But I don't know. I just see a bunch of guys swinging out of their shoes with no plan of attack, and I don't know. Maybe I'm discouraged by Arkansas's offense because my vision for it was so much greater. But I just see this kind of. The identity is we just swing hard, and if you make good pitches, we'll just get ourselves out and go about our way and try to win the game 3-2. I just wish their offense was more more multiple. Like there was just more ways to beat them. I don't know. It's very interesting, but they're certainly very good players, and certainly we know Nate Thompson's a phenomenal offensive coach. It just, man, I don't know. I'm just discouraged. But hey, they keep winning, and their best baseball's ahead of them. So what are you gonna do? But I'm picking them. So there you go. Oklahoma State at West Virginia. KR, what do you got?
Tell you what, I think I'm going to go with the Mountaineers here. Even though Jacob Waters did have a great start last week against Baylor, he's thrown pretty well for the most part in that starting rotation. He's got big time stuff. I think he can match up with Justin Campbell in the front of that rotation. And I just like the way they're playing. They're hitting the ball. They're pitching in big spots. They're at home. I would think. I haven't looked at the weather, but I would think if the weather's halfway decent, they've got really big crowds there in Morgantown. And I think that might be the differentiator. I like West Virginia at home.
Fitzy, or KR, I should say, Fitzy and I knew you would come around. We knew you'd start to see the light on the Mountaineers.
Well, now that I'm all in on West Virginia, that means we're going to get swept and run ruled in the series finale.
Fitzy, what do you got on this? Morgantown.
Yeah, neat series. I think we're going to have Burke Granger, I believe, is going to be in the house.
Yes, he is.
Burke's been getting around a little bit. I like the Cowboys. I mean, I think this is a good spot for them on the road to kind of pad their top 8 resume, which I think they're building a nice one here. They won 5 straight series. I think maybe 6. I mean, since basically getting swept by Gonzaga, they've been outstanding. I thought it was very encouraging the way Bryce Osmond pitched last weekend. If he can sustain that kind of performance, you've got a great rotation there, with Campbell and Medeiros and Osmond. So 3 guys, and they've got, weapons in the bullpen, a lot of weapons in the bullpen. I just think their pitching is better. That's the biggest separator here. And having Griffin Dorshing back does really boost that lineup for Oklahoma State. I feel like, Rock Riggio has started to kind of find his stride. He had a big game against Oklahoma. I think he had like a 5 RBI game or something. I mean, that's a key piece that I think has high upside. And this team is going to continue to get better. I think, like almost all Josh Holiday teams do, they always play better late than they do early. And I mean, they're sitting there at 24-9, 7-2. They're already in a good spot, and I think they get better. And I think that they play well this weekend.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that struck me, Fitzy, that you talked about Oklahoma State after the fall was that their depth of their roster, and I think like Griffin Dorshing he's not a program changer for them, but he everybody has to do a little bit less. So it's 8 guys with a little bit less on their plate. They've got depth of pitching. I think we're gonna look back at Oklahoma State and feel like they've played a tougher schedule than we think. And what I mean by that is they've been on the road a lot. Like they don't get to play a ton of home games. So anyway, this is either Dimitri or Ben. Can you guys please talk about some top 25 to 30 teams with 60 plus RPIs? Texas State, is that a 2 seed or a 3 or even a 4? Let's come back to that. That's an interesting topic. All right, let's table that so we can cruise through these picks. I'm all about talking about the Bobcats. I love their uniforms. I love their bullpen. I love their team. I picked Oklahoma State, by the way. Texas Tech at TCU. KR, we're killing the Big 12 this week. Let's go.
So I was just looking at the probable starters this weekend. TCU still going to go with Marcelo Perez on Saturday. Austin Kroeb's still not back. With that, I like Texas Tech. I just think when you look at the front of the rotation with Brandon Bertzel, he's kind of settled in nicely as an ace. You look at the job that Andrew Morris has done in that Saturday role for Tech. He's taken a huge step forward this year. The third starting spot for Tech is still an issue, but I just think they have an advantage in those first 2 spots. And, the thing about Marcelo is he's got to give them, more than 3 or 4 innings against Texas. I think it was 3 2/3 of the game I was at. He's got to give them a little bit more length than that to win a series like that. And I just think Texas Tech, for me, is probably just more balanced offensively. I think TCU with Tommy Sacco and obviously Braden Taylor, supremely talented. Just overall, Texas Tech is the better offense. Jace Young is rolling right now, and I like Texas Tech in that series.
Fitzy?
Yeah, this one's tough because I think
see your cursor moving. Are we flip-flopping?
I'm mulling it over. I'm not making a pick on the fly here.
This is live flip-flop.
it feels like TCU at home is in a back against the wall situation. And, you know, I usually like to take a home team in a back against the wall situation. They've lost back to back series, you know, trying to build a hosting resume. You lose 3 straight series, all of a sudden, they can start to snowball on you. Uh, that said, I want to pick TCU, but I just don't think I can do it. I think Texas Tech is better, a lot better, and playing a lot better right now. And so I love the way that the rotation has come together for Tech. That was a major concern heading into the year, and right now it's not. I mean, those guys are doing a great job. So, and Kendall, you're right. I mean, the offense is rolling right now too. So,
Yeah.
I was on the fence on this one. I was going to pick the Frogs, but I'm backing down. I'm picking the Red Raiders.
Yep.
Yeah, this is just a grueling stretch for TCU guys. I mean, it's just at some point it's got to wear on you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm picking Tech. Yeah, Tech just, they have that Tim Tadlock swagger going. Here's the thing about TCU, guys. I like all the pieces of this program. They're just not playing great. And maybe it's what you're saying, Kendall. It's just a meat grinder. But like, I love Tommy Sacco. I love Gray Rogers. I love Braden Taylor.
Yeah.
I love River Ridings. I love
Mhm.
what Riley Cornelio has become. But I don't know, for whatever reason, they're just they don't
Well,
feel
yeah.
very scary right now.
Well, the other thing too is like, so who are 2 guys coming into the season that we expected to take a big step forward for TCU? Garrett Wright, they thought he'd be kind of their next Durbin Feltman. He hasn't been that. He was up to 96 against Texas over the weekend, but was very hittable. Yeah, had a very limited outing. Cam Brown, he was phenomenal when I saw him in the fall. He scuffled. He was in their Saturday role, and I think his last start he went 2/3 of an inning before he got lifted. Now he's out of the rotation. So you got 2 big time arms who haven't really panned out for TCU this year, and that's really hurt them, especially with Crow out.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're just not. That's really the bottom line. They're just not enough in that pitching staff, guys that they can lean on. So, Texas Tech it is. Florida at Vandy, the Jack Leggett Bowl. What Fitzy, you take us first.
Yeah, tough one. I mean, this series always is just a battle. I've talked about this a lot, but I just think it's a great, underappreciated rivalry series. I feel like I've gone to this series a number of times over the years, and it's always like very intense. But I feel like these 2 teams do bring out the best in each other. Vanderbilt needs it. I mean, they need it. They need a series win against a regional team. They don't have one. We've talked about this a lot. They're probably sick of hearing me say it, but they don't. I mean, their best series win is Missouri, who's not going to be a regional team. And so this is a big opportunity at home, coming off a series loss. And I think Vandy figures it out. I think they do. And Florida's been a roller coaster team. I mean, but right now they're coming off a high. And so winning that series against Arkansas, let's see if they can keep it going on the road. It wouldn't surprise me. It feels like a coin toss, but I'm going to take the home team here.
KR?
I'm going to go with Vanderbilt, and I don't have like amazing reasoning here, but my thing about Vanderbilt is they've yet to win a big series. Vanderbilt knows at this point that if they want to kind of get back in that hosting discussion, they've got to win the series. If they lose the series, they've got a lot of ground to make up in that league, and so I think Vanderbilt's going to play with a lot of urgency this weekend. I think they get their first big series win of the year.
Got it. Hey boys, this is a fun one in this regard. So for the last decade, 2010 to 2019, the program of the decade was either Florida or Vandy. Like that was the argument, right?
Yep.
And Florida won 1 national title and won 7 Omahas, 1 national title. Vandy, 2 national titles, but do I have this right? Only 4 Omahas for Vandy, right?
That's correct.
So I always picked Florida because it was more Omahas. I think Omaha's just so hard. But either way,
that is. I mean, this is something we've debated a lot though, because when we do our top 100 program rankings, the last couple of times it's come down to Florida or Vandy for the top spot, and the most recent one was Vandy coming off their 2nd national title. And for me, I think, I know Kendall and I argued about this because I thought that 2nd national title, even though they had 3 fewer Omahas, for me, that outweighed it. That's just a big difference to get all the way to the mountaintop twice. But it's a real argument. I mean, you can go either way on it.
Yeah. So here's why I'm picking Vandy, guys. And I'm going to say this. It's probably going to – I got to say it like Kendall. I got to channel my Kendall political savvy comments. But some of these teams like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Vandy have just kind of had this zombie feel to them. And I'm not saying they're not playing hard or trying hard. I know they are, but they just look lost. They just don't look confident. And I just feel like Vandy is not going to play like zombies forever. They're too good. The program's too proud. So I wrote down Vandy's 9 losses. Here's how many runs Vandy has scored in their 9 losses: 3, 5, 2, 6, 2, 2, 0, 1, 2. So you start looking at that and you're like, okay, that's not a pitching issue. Those bats got to get going. But then you look at their team and they're hitting over 300. So they're, we've talked about their schedule. We don't need to talk about that again. I'm picking Vandy because I just feel like this series might kind of get them out of that zombie mode, because it tends to be a little chippy. Vandy, Florida can be chippy, even though Corbs and Sully are like brothers.
The only thing I thought was interesting is in the Vandy-Tennessee series, I thought Tennessee played a little chippy, and I thought Vandy didn't play chippy. Like I didn't think Vandy really reciprocated that feeling very much, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, you know what, Vandy? Now this will get me in trouble. Vandy said, "Mom, Dad, Tennessee's picking on me." That's what it felt like, right?
You know what it felt like? And no offense to Vandy, but it felt like Vandy didn't want that smoke, is what it felt like.
Oh, I love that expression. Yeah, it did. Now, again, in fairness to Vandy, when you've got Chase Burns and Drew Beam and Chase Dolander shoving on you, it's a little harder to fight back, right? Like, it's very easy for me to sit here with a microphone on when I'm not having to deal with upper 90s fastballs and then Drew Beam pitches like a 28-year-old. So, all that said, I'm picking Vandy. They're not going anywhere. Louisville at Florida State, another toughie. Fitzy, take us. What do you got here?
One of these days, it feels like Florida State's got to figure it all out and make a run. And I mean, they kind of, took care of business, a lot of 2 out of 3s for most of the season. And like they weren't losing series, but they weren't sweeping anybody. And now they just kind of hit a rut. They're just in a funk. And, I picked them last week at Georgia Tech. It was kind of a stupid pick because it was, that's a tough play. Again, the tough place to go on the road and win for a team that isn't playing great. And they weren't playing great heading into it. They just were swept by Notre Dame, and they continue to give up some runs, but they just don't hit very much. So all that said, I'm picking them again because I can't quit them. I can't come off that argument that they've got one of the best pitching staffs in the country. I can't. Maybe I should, because starting to wonder if it's really legit there. I mean, is this sustainable? But I mean, give me Messick and Hubbard and Dunn and Davis Hare and Scalaro, and I'll go to war with those guys. So I'm going to take them at home. We'll give them another week here to reward my faith.
KR?
Yeah, I think Florida State's another one of those teams kind of ripe for a big series win. I think they have a sizable advantage on the mound. And I think they take care of business at home. That's pretty much just what it boils down to. I think they have a huge advantage on the mound, and I think in a series they kind of need to win to kind of get back in the saddle. I think they'll take care of business.
Yeah, I think I picked Louisville, and I just feel like Louisville reminds me of last year's Arizona team, where they kind of know who they are. They dig it, and if you let Louisville make the series messy, that's their kind of party. And I feel like Florida State's an offensive enough environment that Louisville could start to run those scores up, and and FSU runs out of firepower. But again, in my heart, do I think FSU is going to lose 3 straight series? I don't think that's something that they do, but I had to pick somebody, and I'm picking Louisville. So there you go. All right, we're getting down to it. We're going to do an American series, a Big West series, and a Sun Belt series to finish. East Kakalaki at UCF. Fitzy, what do you got?
This is another one. I mean, there's some tough. I picked the series this week, as I usually do, and I picked some tough ones because I think East Carolina is not. They're not dead yet. Okay, like they're hanging in there. They just won three straight series. VCU, Cincinnati, Wichita State. They're not sweeping teams, but they're kind of hanging around and just battling. I think they could go down there and win this series. I flip flop back and forth. Eventually, I'm just taking UCF because I think they've had the better year. I think right now they're probably the better team. Their offense is kind of hot at the moment, and they're at home. So I'm trying not to overthink it here. I like UCF.
KR, what do you got? By the way, you said battle. Is that like Ray Tanner level battle or
We're gonna
not?
battle
Thank you.
to the series.
Oh gosh, if Ray Tanner's listening, which he's not, I hope you go to Omaha, Coach Tanner. One of my favorite people in the history of college baseball. Ray Tanner, awesome, all caps.
No doubt.
KR, what do you got in this series?
So my concern here in this series, and I feel like I should make an executive decision here and say that we have a right to change this tomorrow. But I think we need to check with Coach Love because Connor Stain, who by the way hadn't allowed a run at all this year, got lifted after 2 innings over the weekend against Memphis, and I'm wondering what his status is. They haven't put out their weekend rotation, but I think if Connor Stain's out of that rotation, that changes the dynamic of that series quite a bit. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's been flawless for the Knights, and he came out of the game after 2 innings against Memphis over the weekend.
KR, I'm going to tell you guys to have some guts and stick with your pick.
I'll go with UCF.
I'm picking East Kakalaki. I don't care if Connor Stain's pitching or not.
I will say this about UCF. Whenever they've needed a guy to come out of the bullpen, Vin Vespi has thrown really, really well for them. If you look at the last 2 weekends against South Florida and Memphis, he threw excellent out of the bullpen. So maybe he's a guy that even if Connor Stain's out, they can kind of go the distance for him out of the pen.
By the way, I'm loving that this American is not – those ECU teams were really fun when they would just boat race the American, but I like this American where there's a lot of viable contenders. And UCF is – I hated picking against UCF, but I don't know. I'm going gut feel on the Pirates.
Yeah, and I'll see Tulane at Houston. We're not going to talk about them, but I'll see Tulane at Houston this weekend, which is another big American series.
No question. Okay, now this one, Fitzy, was just – you were just trying to upset me. You did Cal Poly at UC Irvine, two of my favorite clubs. Fitzy, who'd you pick?
Yeah, I went with the Anteaters here, Runes. I didn't, again, these are hard. These are hard this week. I liked Irvine to win the league heading into the year, and I'm not coming off that prediction. And so this is just kind of a stubborn pick. Even though Poly is playing really well right now, they've been on a roll. I believe in this Irvine team. The veterans that they got back from last year, the Nathan Churches and the Michael Friases, and they've got just some winning guys that play a lot of baseball games. Nick Pinto, our man Gordon Ingebrigtsen. Ingebrigtsen. I just, I like the Anteaters at home. I don't have a good reason for it. They're both good clubs, but I'm sticking with my preseason pick here in a big series.
KR.
I'm going to go with UC Irvine. They met Cal Poly guys. They're playing much better. They've got star power, Drew Thorpe and Brooks Lee, of course. But Cal Poly, even though it seems like they're on this sort of run, they still do not have a series win over a team with a winning record. The best record of the team they played is 500. So, and they've caught Long Beach State last weekend when Long Beach State is playing terribly. So I like UC Irvine.
Gosh, Kendall just raining on my parade right there. I'm picking Cal Poly because Brooks Lee is taking his dad to Omaha this year. And in all seriousness, like the Cal Poly formula is clear. Like Drew Thorpe's got a deal. They got to win game one. I don't think there's any way they sweep Irvine. Irvine's very, very good. But it's a pure emotional pick. I think these are two very good teams. I don't know. It's interesting, man. It feels like there's no way the Big West is a 3-bid league. And so now you got to pick between Santa Barbara and Cal Poly and UC Irvine, if it's even a 2-bid league. And so, oh man, that's going to break my heart. And Long Beach, to your point, Kendall, is just shockingly disappeared. It's just hard to believe that they've just vanished with the talent.
Yeah, remember when that series went over Mississippi State? Seemed like a huge deal.
Gosh, I saw them in the fall, and they just ran right over Arizona State. And I know Arizona State's not awesome, but they're still, it's still a big time program with scholarships. So anyway, that's neither here nor there.
The Big West in general is in trouble yet again this year. UC Santa Barbara's got a 53 RPI, but Cal Poly, who had been climbing a little bit, back down 85. So that league's in trouble.
Okay, let's stay with that theme. It was either Ben or Dimitri. I'm guessing it was Dimitri from the 11.7 guys in the chat asked about Texas State and the Sun Belt. So we're going to pick, is it Georgia State at Georgia Southern, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Georgia State at Georgia Southern. We're going to pick that. But the question that Dimitri asked, Kendall, was, and for you too, Fitzy, this is a Nerdcast question. So assuming Texas State is the number one team as per the committee coming out of the Sun Belt, are they a 2 or a 3 or a 4? There's no way they're a host at this point, right?
Yeah, so that's true. But look, they're 55 in the RPI, sure, and so that's why I think the 11.7 guys asked this question, because right now that's 55 is usually not even an at-large RPI, but you have to remember how fluid this thing is. I mean, they're down 16 spots from just a week ago. A week ago, they're sitting there at 39, and it's like whatever. It's probably a 2 seed. It's a long way to go. I still like their resume. That road series win at Arizona still looms large. If they win the league, they're fine. If they win the league, they're a 2 or a 3. And yes, the RPI needs to come back up, but I think this is probably just a little dip here, and I think it will come back up.
Hosting is out of the question, but I do think when you look at Texas State, so when you look at bubble teams and you look at teams with RPIs in the 50s, what the committee looks at is like what are your high end wins? And if you look at their high end wins, they've got a series win over Arizona on the road. They got a series split with Texas. So they have some really nice pieces that, frankly, a lot of those bubble teams are not going to have at the end of the year. So I still feel pretty good about them. And like Aaron said, I think they're going to, if you look back at the series against Georgia Southern, they could have very easily swept that series. I think they blew the game in the first 2 games, and then they actually came back and won, I want to say, the series finale. So that series could have gone either way. I think they'll regroup, and I don't think we'd be worrying about the RPI here pretty soon.
Yep. And another reason for the 32 host idea, by the way.
Yeah.
So we can capitalize on a team like this having a magical season. But
agreed. And Dimitri has a follow-up about UConn. You're right. It's in a similar boat. Good team, but I think UConn's probably in a little bit of a worse situation from an RPI standpoint, because I just don't see a lot of opportunities ahead for them to really make some hay. I mean, the Big East RPI has, I think, bigger problems than the Sun Belt RPI. So that's one that if they don't win their automatic bid, guys, I don't know if they get in, and I feel like we have them ranked in the top 25 because we think they're a top 25 caliber team. Just like, this has happened before. Like Gonzaga, we've had ranked in the top 25, and they've gotten snubbed by the committee on selection day because their RPI wasn't there, and that's a shame. But the top 25 has no influence on the selection, and we don't look that much at the RPI when we're doing the top 25. So
I will say this about UConn. If let's say UConn wins all of the regular season series, which they'd be favored to win all of them right now. And let's just say they didn't win the automatic bid. Let's say they got to the final day and they didn't win their automatic bid. Their RPI is 57, but they did not lose a single series in the regular season, and they actually made a point to go play teams on decent teams on the road in non-conference. They're going to get in. I'm not even concerned about that.
Here's the other thing, guys. I don't think the committee thinks this way, but do you know how many teams in America have more road wins than UConn? 2.
0? Okay.
Rutgers has 18, and Gonzaga has 15. Connecticut's 14-5 on the road, and that has to be. I don't know, for whatever reason, that's really in my mind this year. Just hearing coaches talk about how difficult. Rick Heller, we got to talk to earlier in the year, and just him talking about you guys don't understand, road games aren't just you're playing in front of their fans. In 2022, road games are hard to even get there. And, as we all are booking flights, it's so true. Travel is not what it used to be. It is grueling. So anyway, we need to – go ahead, Fitzy.
And I do think that's a good point. I think the committee will – in the past, they pointed out something like a team's sparkling road record. They had to play so many road games.
Yeah.
And they have given teams the benefit of the doubt. And, it varies from committee to committee. You never know what factors are going to matter to a particular group of committee members. But that is something that could give UConn some benefit of the doubt if they're on the edge from an RPI standpoint.
No question. Who are we picking in this series, by the way?
I'm going to go with the Bus Boys.
The
bus lot boys, baby.
The bus lot.
So here's what I want from Brad. And by the way, I talked to Brad Strombaugh in the fall. He predicted all of this. I don't know if he's Nostradamus or what, but he predicted
me going 8-2 last week and almost.
He did not predict that.
Oh,
but what I want to know is, can you do this, Brad? Can you just scrape the charter bus and just take the yellow dog to Statesboro this weekend? The
That would
true
be
bus
old school.
boys. That would be
old school.
awesome.
It'd be uncomfortable, but maybe it's not a long ride. I don't know how far Statesboro is to Atlanta.
I don't think it's that far. I think it's like an hour and a half or something.
Fitzy, are you taking the Panthers?
Yeah, I
course
just
he
wrote
is.
about the Panthers. I got to take them.
Recency bias.
That's a requirement of doing the Rapsodo
They
team on the
sound
rise
good.
feature.
They sound good.
Yes.
I mean,
they've got prospects. They've actually have a few prospects.
Yeah, I think they're very interesting.
Yeah, I'm taking Georgia Southern. I feel like Georgia Southern, if they didn't just get boat raced by Tennessee to open the season, we'd probably be chatting a lot more about them. But they did, and now we come to realize that that's really more of a Tennessee thing than it is anything else.
Yeah,
But
they have the series lost to South Florida too, though.
by the way,
Is it
guys,
South Florida?
if we didn't say this already, the Fun Belt is the number 5 ranked RPI conference. I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah, you got Troy at 8-4. Skylar Meade, who, speaking of the Rapsodo feature I wrote about earlier in the year, Skylar's done a really good job at Troy, and Coastal's in the mix RPI wise. South Alabama's kind of getting it together again. So yeah, that's a really interesting league. And by the way, they had Southern Miss next year, so really intriguing.
Love that. Gary Lewis is asking about the Cal Bears. I've been so pro Cal Bears. I'm just going to make this comment, and maybe this is just me with my hurt pride over here. If Cal loses one more series, they're done. Like, they're done unless they win the Pac-12 tournament. They're like 500 and like 7-8, but their resume is literally nothing but near loss or close losses. Like, it's just there's nothing there, and that kills me to say that because I love Mike New, and there's a lot of that team that I love, but you do have to win series. They have to win series, and the thing is, that Florida State series they should have won. Gosh, just step on home plate.
I will say this, Rune. So just to give you some hope, I like you being optimistic. But looking at the remaining schedule, I mean, after Wazoo this weekend, they have UCLA at Oregon at Stanford.
They ain't winning all those series.
There's plenty of RPI opportunities there.
I guess you could say that they control their destiny because of that schedule. But do you really think that they can go on the road and win series against Oregon and Stanford?
Are they 7-8 in the league right now? Is that what you guys got?
7-8.
Yes.
I mean, let me say this to you guys. If they go 15-15 in the Pac-12, does that resume get them in? I think no way in Hades.
Probably not, because they might be 3 games over 500 overall. I mean, they're just like, there's not enough separation there overall. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if they went 15-15, I mean, if they went 15-15, 2-4. Yeah, I mean, that would mean they win. That would mean they had won 3 of those 4 series.
But they're still. It would also make them barely over 500 because that, like, I mean, they have a lot of losses already.
Yeah, but they also get New Mexico at home, so they can kind of pad the stats a little bit. They get Utah at home. Yeah, I mean, if they won 3 of those Final 4, 3 of those Final 4 conference series, I think they'd have a shot.
Well, now that I've walked away from them, now that I've quit them, they're going to go off. Like, that's – I did it for you, Cal Bears. I did it for you, Roxy Bernstein.
There's always somebody that goes crazy down the stretch.
We all know you're a Stanford guy anyway, Runes. You're in the
I never took Runes to be kind of a Berkeley guy.
I actually – you know what's funny? Coaching in Arizona State, the trip to Northern California is awesome, except for the baseball. Like, playing Stanford at Sunken Diamond just stinks. It's just awful, and the results
I've heard the
were
field
awful.
At Cal's terrible too.
Yeah, the field at Cal is not awesome, but when I converted to a radio guy, then the trip to Northern California was amazing. Yeah. So anyway, good, gentlemen. Well done. Happy Wednesday. How about us? Look at us on a Wednesday night.
Well,
good work.
Happy Easter, I guess, to everybody.
Yeah, happy Easter. Have a great Easter weekend, everybody.
Aaron,
that is it.
Aaron, are you having an Easter egg hunt?
I'm sure we will. Our little niece, baby Caroline, her first Easter egg hunt at the beach.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, that's awesome. Love that. Hey, anybody who's watching on YouTube, if you don't mind, please subscribe to the channel. That is very, very helpful. Thanks again to our guys at S2 Cognition. Everybody have a great Easter weekend, and we will catch you on Monday for the weekly pod. See you, everybody.